think the worst day of my life was being held at gunpoint by police and not knowing if I was going to make it home.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be
The journey. The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we got a bad one, y'all. We got a bad brother. Put some respect on his name for sure. He's Dr. Archie Moss. But before we get to Dr. Moss, I got a quote, and it comes from a book called Invisible Man and the author Ralph Ellison. When I discover who I am, I'll be free. So what does that mean to me? It means that it's all in the discovery. First, to thine own self be true. And once I understand who I am, I'm free to be everything I can be. This is a brother who's straight out of Miami, Florida. Miami South Ridge is where he made his name. The brother was a track star and went on to University of Florida. He's a Gator. Brother of the Black and Gold. He's an alpha man. He's been a Memphian for 8 years running. A disruptive leader, change agent, and committed to many young men around this city have been impacted by his Gentleman's League. Listen, we're talking about none other than Dr. Archie Moss Jr. Welcome to The Journey, brother.
I'm happy to be here, brother.
And we are honored. I am honored because I've seen your work. So we gonna hold off on talking about the work you do and kind of go back. Take me back to the bottom. Take me back to Miami, young Archie Moss, and the household in which you were brought up in.
Yeah, so I always tell people I'm from Dade County 305. I don't shy away from representing Miami.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm the youngest of three.
Okay.
I grew up in a household with both my parents. Parents just celebrated 42 years of marriage.
42 years.
42 years. And so I think growing up in a household where you see that unconditional love,
right?
You see the sacrifice, you see the hard work, you see the determination.
Okay.
I have no choice but
to
to make sure that I'm also mirroring that and making sure that when we go forth in this world, that me and my two sisters are also showcasing that same level of determination, support, and love for everybody we come around.
Now, you said you're the youngest or older?
I'm the youngest.
Okay, you're the baby
youngest.
boy.
I'm the youngest, but I'm the little big brother. So both of my sisters know I'm the big brother. I'm the youngest, but I'm very protective of my sisters. I think they're the world. I think they deserve the world.
Give them a shout out. What's their name?
My sisters are Archie and Patrice.
Okay.
They have given me, I don't have any kids, so they've given me my children, my nephews. Okay. And I think it's so interesting that they have 3 boys because I just got this love for them black boys and making sure they got what they need. And so, them and my mother, strongest women I know, and so I always have to give them that credit.
I'm not gonna let you say you don't have any kids.
I got plenty of them. I got a lot of them.
Listen, during COVID, this brother was reading bedtime stories across, I believe it was across the country because he was using Facebook. Now, was that impact felt?
Absolutely. Which was crazy. You gotta even think about this, it came out of idea. My librarian, Miss Howard at the time, was just like, hey, we got to do something creative to get these kids to want to read. Okay. We know the reading scores here in Memphis is not the best. And so what's a non-conventional way that we can try to get kids excited? Okay. So I was like, it started way before COVID. Okay. And then it just kind of just blew up. Okay. So I remember the first time we did it, I remember telling my parents, I need y'all to log on. I remember even reaching out to my own parents. I was like, I need y'all to log on too. Because if nobody don't show up, at least y'all will be there to support me and at least comment something. Right.
Well, listen, we're gonna unplug. We're gonna unpack it on the second half. Yeah. But I'm fanning out right now because he is one of the most exciting educators I think that's ever been in Memphis, Tennessee. But listen, all right. So you grew up in the household. Outside of your parents, who had the biggest impact? Outside of the household, who had the biggest impact on young Archie?
It would have to be my grandparents.
Really?
So my grandmother, I didn't go to daycare. I didn't go to pre-K. My grandmother was my first teacher.
Okay.
So my parents would go to work. They would drop us off. And I was the last of the three.
Okay.
So I had my individual time with my grandma watching in the heat of the night. Watching the stories. It was like this routine, but she was the one that helped start that foundation of just learning, of just knowing how you're supposed to act, how to conduct yourself. And so both of my sets of my grandparents, when we needed something, because my parents are working.
Right.
They made sure they did what they needed to do to make sure we had what we needed, which oftentimes when we wanted to do stuff at school, we needed rides.
Right.
My mom would really say, you better call your grandpa. Somebody gonna come get you. So we really spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and both of my grandfathers just really poured into me in ways that sometimes my dad didn't. Just in different ways. I felt like I had my dad there, but I also had my grandfathers who were also there, who were both very different. One was a pastor, and so going to church with them, I think they just really poured into me. So I always say, they laid a strong foundation.
Okay. What decision did you make as a young person that ended up having kind of lifelong impact, even though you may not have known it at the time?
Probably, that's. When I think back to that, I think the decision I made at an early age that I don't think I knew was probably my ability to question authority. It's funny enough, growing up, the educator that people see now, the type of person I am today, I wasn't always like that.
Okay.
And I really had an issue with folks that weren't fair. And if I didn't feel like if there wasn't justice happening in anything I was doing, I questioned you, and I didn't care who it was.
Okay.
I didn't care if you was the teacher, the principal. I was going to question you,
Right.
Which got me in a lot of trouble.
Well, you had a great support system.
Yeah,
too.
yes. But it got me in a lot of trouble with that support system. Let me be very clear. I don't know why I used to do it, because I'm going to get in trouble.
Right.
But it was this idea of if there were people around me that didn't have a voice, I feel like I needed to advocate for them, even if it had nothing to do with me. But I feel like that it had an impact on me. I didn't realize what I was doing. I thought I was just getting in trouble, questioning everybody. But I feel like it led me to now what I'm able to do. And I'm going to continue to shake tables and advocate for what's best, even if I don't agree with what the decisions. I'm just going to do it.
That's it.
But I don't think at the time I realized what I was doing. I felt like I was just doing what I felt like was right. But it really had a lasting impact on me.
How different are you from the person you dreamed you'd be as a kid?
Wow. It's funny. I told my grandfather when I was 5 years old, he's no longer with us, my paternal grandfather, that I was gonna be the family's first doctor. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. I don't like the sight of blood. I don't like needles. So I don't know how far I was gonna go with that journey.
Okay.
So I pivoted. Okay. And so I was able to still give an EDD, doctor. Right. I'm still doctor. So I feel like that aspect of my journey, what I wanted to be true for myself, still remained true. But I think growing up, I was trying to figure out who I was. Okay. And I feel like I was just trying to fit in.
Gotcha.
I remember, I was smart. So I was in the AP classes. Okay. We grew up in inner city Miami, so I hung out with friends and classmates who were in the I felt comfort with them.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. I know I knew this brother was gonna talk. But listen, when'd you know you was gonna be okay? At what point in your life could you look in the mirror and say, I can do this thing called life?
That's interesting. Because I still feel like I'm still trying to get that answer.
Okay.
I think that when I graduated high school, I graduated number 10 in my class, which was actually a bet with my mother.
Okay. How big was the class? You didn't have
595. Nah, I won number 10 out of 10. We actually had 595. I was proud of that. Okay. But that actually started it was a bet to my mother. Both of my sisters went to a magnet school. Okay. I didn't want to go to that school.
Okay. Well, hold on. We're gonna let you rap. So in the second half, we're gonna get you rapping. But this is the last question of this segment. Did you know you was a black man? Hold on. Listen, this is The Journey on the Kazukian Network. When we come back, Dr. Moss is gonna share with you when he realized he was a brother. Stay right there.
For 40 years, the Mid-South has turned to Regional One Health's Elvis Presley Trauma Center in times of crisis. For 40 years, we have turned despair into hope, pain into peace, adversity into triumph. We're proud to serve as the Mid-South's only Level 1 trauma center, and to measure our success not by the patients we see, but the people who walk out our door. Regional One Health, specializing in tomorrows.
Welcome back to The Journey. I told you we had a live one, y'all. I told you. Dr. Archie Moss Jr., straight out of Florida, is in Memphis now. He's a Memphian for as long as we can hold on to this brother. So listen, Dr. Moss, I know we got a question to ask you about when you realized you was a black man. But before we go there, what's your superpower? What's that one thing that Archie Moss does better than anybody else?
So I consider myself to be a joy curator, and I feel like I'm the joy factor. I feel like any environment that I'm in, I'm going to make sure that there's joy living, breathing in that opportunity, in that experience with the people around me.
Wait a minute, you got to unpack that. Unpack that a little bit.
I feel like finding opportunities when people come together to make sure that we are focusing on joy, making sure that when you're interacting with someone else, that there's joy, that there's happiness, that there's laughter. I think that's what I was able to do as a principal, what I'm able to do with the Gentlemen's League, and any opportunity, any interaction I'm having with individuals, I'm trying to create that space of joy.
So what does that bring, the joy? How does that impact an environment, in your opinion?
I think when folks are happier, life is hard.
Right.
We got all this other stuff we could be talking about or dealing with. So it's like, what can we do to alleviate some of that hardness of the world, some of the cruelty that we deal with? And so I feel like laughter and joy is a remedy. And so I also say, like, joy is not in things, it's in us. And so we as humans have that joy. And I feel like it's important for us to bring it out of other people. So I think when you bring it out of people, people live happier lives. They feel like they're more fulfilled. They feel as though that they are living in their true colors and that they're being authentic. And I feel like that is what I want to be true for folks that I'm around.
Okay. You walking down Main Street in Memphis. Guy walks up to you. Said, "Hey, man, who are you?" What would you say?
Ooh, I'm a black man first.
Okay.
Because that's what they're going to see.
Right.
I will say Archie is the product of sacrifice, the product of relentlessness, and the product of proving people wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you realize you was a black man?
Wow, I probably realized I was a black man very early on.
Okay.
When I walked into my elementary school. My elementary school was Auburndale Elementary School. I went there for kindergarten through second grade until we moved down south. It was 97% Hispanic, 3% other.
Okay.
I oftentimes tell people the running joke was the 3% was me and my two sisters. But it was the first time I felt like I realized that I'm different than the rest of my classmates. They were all Hispanic. They were all speaking Spanish, and I'm just there.
Right.
And I remember just feeling like alone, isolated. But what brought me joy in the moment was whenever we would have passing periods, I could always find my sisters in the hallway. That was a good thing because you look for the two other black spots in the building, you could find them. But I think it was that moment of like, I'm different than them. I come from a different background.
That's crazy. So in Memphis, it's white, and and it's the juxtaposition between black people and white people.
Yeah.
Yours was Hispanic.
Yeah.
What was different about that? Because you've seen both sides.
I've seen both sides. Yeah.
What's the difference there?
I think what was interesting with operating or growing up with Hispanics was, number one, once I realized I was different and we were different and we had different beliefs and different ways of just being brought up, they were receptive to us.
Okay.
They might have not identified us as different, but we felt it because of the color of our skin. We saw it. I feel as though what I experienced in Miami, like I was very fluent in Spanish. Like I feel like I was able to pick up a second language rather quickly because they were embracing us. There was the way that they felt like they were including us in their culture. We were integrated in it. Right. Now we moved down south and the demographics shifted a lot in Miami. Like of course it was a predominantly black environment, black school, black neighborhood was growing up in. But I think that was the difference in and how I felt like we were not isolated in a sense. I felt the isolation, but they weren't doing it.
Okay.
And I feel like operating in other spaces, like when I got to college at the University of Florida, where there are 50,000 students, only 4,000 are Black.
Right.
I felt Black once again.
Was it oppressive?
It was, they don't know how I got here. And so it's like you have to prove that you belong here, just like everybody else. So I feel like there was a tension that exists there that wasn't when we were in elementary school, where it's like, I felt like I had to prove something. And I feel like that's just how I just had to operate for the rest of my life.
Tell me, what has Memphis meant for you?
Wow. Memphis made me.
Wow. Now unpack that, please.
I felt like I had a really strong trajectory when I was in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. I was a dean of students. I was on my way to be a resident principal in Charlotte. I felt like if I would have stayed in Charlotte, I would have been successful, would have finally found my way into leadership and whatnot. But what was so unique about Memphis at that time, because I'll be honest, when Memphis called me, I said no. New leader's office called me initially, and I was like, no, I think I'm gonna stay in Charlotte. Because it was comfortable, is what I knew. But what actually drew me into to Memphis was I realized Charlotte Mecklenburg at the time, the leaders that were leading these schools did not look like the kids we serve. And that I had a problem with that. In Memphis, I was like, oh, I'm going with my people.
Well, how did you know? Did you come and visit?
I had visited Memphis. I did Teach for America. So my training was actually in Cleveland, Mississippi in the Dirty Delta. And so I still remember coming up to Memphis one weekend for 4th of July weekend, which was a good time to come to Memphis. Came the weekend, that weekend to visit Memphis. That was the first time I had been here. And it was just Black folks. And it was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah,
this
that
is
happened to me.
It's different. It's real different. Charlotte had Black folks, but it was like, you had them in this pocket. I feel like here, I felt like there was just so much culture. And so that's what kind of was like, okay, as we started talking a little bit more, I was like, maybe I could do this. I could make this Memphis thing work. And so moving to Memphis gave me the chance.
Wow.
They gave me the opportunity. And that's all I needed. I was the youngest principal in the district the entire time I was here. And they gave me a chance. And I think that's why I always give my hat to Superintendent Hobson at the time. He took a chance on me. I was 27 years old, and he gave me keys to a building with 500 kids and allowed me the opportunity to lead.
But you had some champions.
Absolutely.
One of them was your frat brother over at Bellevue.
Absolutely.
And that's when I got engaged with Dr. Moss. Well, it wasn't Dr. Moss at the time.
No, it wasn't Dr. And wasn't Dr. Malone either at the time.
No,
Look, we both been growing and going. Yes. I will definitely say what probably has also kept me here is the network and the family I've created. Like I moved here not knowing a single person.
Really?
I knew no one. I just was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I moved here, and I feel as though arriving at Bellevue Middle was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because that school is just a family in itself. And I felt like I just was able to dive right in, and Dr. Malone and the way that he led that school, I learned from him. I learned from Dr. White, who was the AP at the time, who was down a principal. I learned how they moved in Memphis, and I was like a sponge. I was just absorbing it all. So when I had the opportunity to go right next door to Bruce, I already know how I'm going to lead. I saw what worked over here. Why change it? They supported me. They helped me get to where I am. Now it's my time to make sure I make that same impact at the elementary school. And so I think that's what has also kept me here, is like the family, the network, the support that I've been given, the love I've been shown, and the love I haven't been shown, to be honest. That still has been my motivation just to keep going.
We're going to change it up a little bit. Tell me about the worst day of your life.
Wow.
What's that day that you point to say, man, this was tough?
Wow. Probably the worst day of my life probably was actually the summer after I graduated from the University of Florida. I was getting ready to move to Charlotte. It was Memorial Day weekend. Me and my college best friends had all went down to Miami to visit. Memorial Day weekend, that's, if you're from Miami, that's the weekend to hang out, to have a good time on the beach. We so happened to walk out of a bar and ended up walking into, apparently it was a drunk driver, ran into the back of a police car and ran away on foot. And so they created a police perimeter. We hear gunshots, so we just run. And we end up running into a police perimeter, and they thought we were the suspects. And so I think the worst day of my life was being held at gunpoint by police and not knowing if I was gonna make it home.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. How does your family deal with the fact that, because I can tell you are a leader in the family. You seem like a leader in the family. How do they deal with you being gone away for so long?
I think that's probably, I'm not gonna say that's why my sister was getting ready to have her first child and that's why they moved to Atlanta. But I think me being in Memphis, knowing that it was only a 5.5 hour drive, also helped them feel a little bit more comfort. Because when I was in Charlotte, it's a long way to get to Miami.
Right.
And then being in Memphis, it's a long way to get to Miami. And so I think moving to Atlanta was like a nice little happy medium where I feel like, okay, it's great that, I can get there when I need to. But I also feel like actually transitioning from the principalship and actually having a remote job now,
right,
I could be more present.
Okay.
And so I think that also allows them to see me a lot more. A few years ago, 2 years ago, I was able to see my nephews on the first day of school for the first time.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was just this.
Look at you.
I've never been able to do that,
man.
As an educator. You miss those moments.
Okay.
And so being able to actually drop them off to school, pick them up from the bus stop, like seeing them get ready.
Right.
Those moments that I miss when I'm away.
Okay.
And so I think we just constantly, have to figure out those moments that I'm constantly showing up for them, and they know what I'm doing. Of course, they trying to get me to come back. They want me to come to Atlanta.
Right.
But they know I'm on a mission.
We're not giving you back yet.
Yeah, they know I'm on a mission. So they respect it. And I think that family is everything for me. I feel like I use this quote to describe our family. We might not have it all together, but together we have it all.
Ooh.
And I feel like that describes the Moss family.
Say that again.
We might not have it all together, but together we have it all. And I think that we live into that and lean into that. And so because of that, I got them always and they got me.
Let's talk about your work and your career. Where is it going from here? I mean, you've done the principalship. You've led a males organization that is very prominent in the city of Memphis in the Gentlemen's League. Where does it go for here for Archie Moss?
Yeah, so fortunately, my last year as a principal here in Memphis, I actually had the opportunity of partnering with a national nonprofit, Transcend, to help me advance some of the work that I was doing that COVID era.
Right.
And so I was able to learn a little bit more about the work they're doing. They're really big on trying to partner with school communities, school leaders, school districts that are trying to advance the opportunities for students and to make school more equitable and extraordinary for students.
Okay.
And it was something about that just like spoke to me. I felt like I had a lot of success at Bruce, but I was like, this is just one school. How can I maximize that impact?
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to work as a school design partner with Transcend now, as well as a Sparks facilitator. And the school design services role is where I really have the opportunity to partner with schools across the nation. Mm-hmm. I support 4 schools currently in Texas, 3 in Lubbock, Texas, and 1 in Beaumont, Texas. And basically I'm supporting them and making their school better.
Right.
So helping them to go through opportunities of listening to their community, figuring out what the students want, what do the parents want, how can I help support them in creating these new initiatives, whether it is a Flex Friday, advisory period, whatever it is that they need for their students to feel like they can be seen, heard, and deeply known. Right. I support them in that way. And I feel like that brings me joy. Like I get excited. I'm able to take all the great things I was able to do at Bruce and actually spread it across these schools, across the nation. So I love that. And also, as a Sparks facilitator, I get to facilitate sessions to spark innovation in communities across the nation, which I think is so important because we know education got to change. We know we got to do some work to make it happen. So what do I need to do to create those spaces for folks to be excited about? So I'm enjoying Transcend, but I know that my goal is to be able to operate the Gentlemen's League. That is my long-term goal.
Right.
Is to be able to run that mentoring program. My goal is we have a 10-year aim to try to get in as many schools across the state of Tennessee, but also across the nation, and to one day open up a K through 12 all-male school. That's the goal.
Wow.
We're going to get there, but that's the goal.
I was going to ask you, and that's a perfect setup. What do boys need in Memphis, Tennessee from our school system?
Wow. Oh, we gotta make school fun again.
Okay.
I think And this is probably like what got me in a little trouble with, when I was a principal. Like,
nah, you ain't gonna get on trouble. You ain't
listen,
gonna
it got me in a little
here.
trouble because I put a lot of emphasis on celebrating my people.
Right.
Because I can't get them to show up on this test if I don't show up for them first and actually give them their flowers that they deserve.
Right.
And so I think that students don't feel like they're seen. Okay. They don't feel like that they're heard, and they don't feel like that they're known by those around them. And so I think that's what our boys need. When I'm working with our boys, they just want somebody to check on them. They just want somebody to talk to them. They want to know that you're watching. That's why I think mentoring is so important. Because again, you never know. I was sharing earlier that, when I first started getting my hair braided as a principal, one of my kindergarten students got his hair braided the very next, like a few weeks afterwards, and ran up to me and was like, I got my hair braided just like you. And it was that moment I had to sit back and I was like, wow, they watching. They're watching everything you do, even if you don't have to talk to them. I didn't say anything to that young man to tell him to do that. He just watching. They need to look for folks that look like them, that can motivate them to make better choices. And so I think that's what a lot of times that we're missing in the school system. We don't have a lot of black males in the classroom. We don't have them in the school buildings. Only 2% of the nation of educators are black males.
Right.
And so because of that, it makes it difficult for students to find someone in that building that they can relate to. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it is so important that when you're given that opportunity, that you show up and you do right.
Cool. Any regrets? Anything you'd want to take a mulligan on?
Wow, I have no regrets. The one regret that I have is I was kind of molded and told that in order for me to be able to be an effective leader here in Memphis, that I needed to take out my earrings, cut my hair. I had to look a certain way. And I did that to be named principal at Bruce. I did it.
Okay.
I regret it. I regret doing that because I preached to my students about showing up as themselves at all times when I wasn't doing that myself. And I felt like I was trying to be something that I wasn't to fit a mold. And I felt like I was, wearing the neckties instead of my bow ties, like trying to appear older than I was so that people would respect me and that people would take me seriously. And I feel like I was adding a lot of additional stress that I didn't need.
Right.
And I think I'm appreciative of those experiences because I think those feelings that I had of like feeling like I'm not showing up my best self weighed on me and made me make a better choice. But I think I wish I was just led just completely, hey, this is me. Take it or leave it.
Right.
Because I know when you give me that chance, I'm going to show out.
Right.
But I just need you to give me a chance. And I feel like I was in fear that if I didn't cut my hair, if I didn't do those things, I wouldn't be given that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I knew that would impact kids in a different way. So, yeah.
Going back to Miami, Florida, going back to 305, walk in the door at your grandma's house as Archie Moss today. You see that kid sitting there at the table, and it's young Archie Moss. Mm. What would you say to him?
Do you.
Do you.
Do you. Do you. You're going to be all right. You are really going to be all right. You're going to be pushed. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be told what you can't do. You're going to be told that you're too young, that you don't have the right experience, that you need to read this book. You're going to be told all these things. Do you. And all that. Just continue to do you, and you're going to be all right.
Fantastic. Well, this is it. We got one last question. There's boys, men, young ladies, women, everybody listening to us, watching us. I want you to go right in that camera and leave them with a Dr. Moss-ism. Wow,
I got a lot of Dr. Moss-isms. And if you were my former staff members, I had a lot of these sayings that I would say all the time. But I'm gonna keep it a little clean this go round. And I feel like what I want to leave folks with, I oftentimes talk about our kids can't be what they can't see. And so I think it's so important that no matter who you are, where you are, we got to start exposing our kids to things. I tell people all the time, I was born the same day as Tiger Woods. I could have been Tiger Woods, but my mama didn't give me a golf club, so I don't know. But we could be interacting with the next Tiger Woods, the next LeBron James, but we got to expose our kids to those things. They cannot be what they cannot see, what they've never experienced. And so I would encourage everyone to expose your kids, expose yourselves to different things, to different walks of life, because you'd be surprised how you'll find your passion and you'll be able to just really operate in this life just as that, as your passion. So I'm excited for that.
Cool. Listen, y'all, I told you we had a live one today, but I want to go back to the quote. When I discover who I am, I'll be free. Does this sound like a free man? This is a free man. And that's what I want to leave you with today, because when you discover who you are, that's when you will be free. Hey, this is Larry Robinson. Thank
Appreciate you, brother.
Dr. Archie Moss.
So happy to be here.
This is The Journey on the Kazukian Network. Keep coming back. Many, many great men live in this community and can show you the way. So just keep coming back, because we're going to keep bringing them to you. Till the next time. Peace. Thank you to our partners, the Delta Boulé. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the Kazukian app from the App Store or Google Play. Or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the Kazukian Network.